Takiando is powered by Acquired Taste Media. Be sure to listen to our sister podcasts, the LA Food Podcast and Let It Rip, a companion podcast for FX's The Bear, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And now, without further ado, vamos a taquear. Hey everyone, welcome to Taqueando. I'm your host, Bill Esparza. Today on the podcast, I'll be talking about the Mexican-American dream. That's taco trucks on every corner. And joining me for this conversation will be journalist and good friend, Nick Valencia. Nick was with CNN for 19 years. He's now on Substack doing his own thing, joining the pool of many professional journalists that are making the move to independent channels so they can speak out and talk about the things they want to talk about without censorship, without the corporate body looming over their heads. And Nick, the last time you and I go way back. We've been to Sonora together.
Oh yeah, we went to Sonora. We've done an underground food tour of LA. You've gone viral on CNN before. You know, we go way back, man.
Way back. And then now I thought I hadn't seen you since then, but we ran into each other
in Tijuana, so randomly. I was there doing a story on people that had been deported and that were trying to make a new life in Mexico, in Tijuana, and went to a meeting, and then we went to go get lunch. And then there you were. You know?
Right. On my way to the taqueria, I see you, of course.
It was so cool, man. It was a God shot. I call those, man. It was beautiful to see a friend in, random place.
Those are, I am actually, those, you call it a God shot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am actually fascinated by these chance things that, when you see someone like that. And it happens to me a lot.
I really don't think it's chance. I don't think anything is coincidence. Here we are again talking about the intersections in both our lives. Journalism, of course, with this story that's going on in Los Angeles. And for you, there's such a tangent with food. And then, it's like we have people in our life who keep showing up. I think I have people in my life who keep showing up. Reason, season, lifetime. We've all heard that stuff. And you in my adult life have been one of those people that just sort of pops up and appears, and for really cool things like this, man. I'm really, really happy about it.
We are literally picking up where we left off.
Yeah.
So before we get into the main topic, I want you to join me here on Where I Ate This Week. And so this is the antojitos, the cravings. What was I craving this week? I don't know about you, but for me, I'm out supporting Latino businesses, Mexican, Central American, indigenous businesses. And I grabbed a bunch of friends and we did a little food crawl. This one friend, the chef, Sarah, who owns Kismet restaurant here, a very, very popular spot, was like, we were talking about how beans kind of suck in restaurants and they don't in Mexico. It's like it's an economic thing, right? At home, we go all in on the beans, but the restaurants sometimes they're just like giving us beans, salt, water, a little bit of garlic or something. And there's not really much going on.
I'll still eat it.
We still want the beans, right? But I was telling her, like, okay, we're going to do a bean tour. But we also wanted to support restaurants. So we got like 5 of us together, friends, chefs, other journalists. We went to Gishbak, one of my favorites, and had the enfrijolada. And so I recommend that. Have you been to Gishbak?
There's so many great restaurants in LA, and because I'm now just dipping back in, that I've missed out on this whole new wave of great food. And you're going to probably tell me that this has been around for a while too, right?
It's been around for a while. And speaking of dipping, it literally, so enfrijoladas, you probably had this dish before. It's tortillas, dipped in, covered in a bean sauce. And the Oaxacan style has the avocado leaf and lots of wonderful herbal flavors. And Gishbak is one of my top 3 Oaxacan restaurants in Los Angeles. The others are Ponchos Tlayudas and Comedor Tenchitas. So those are the 3, man, you got to hit. So okay. Gishbak, we had that. We also had Maria Ramos's famous barbacoa. This is a place I go to. If I want to impress somebody about Mexican food in LA, that's one of the places I take them.
I mean, just being who you are is impressive, Bill. You don't need to impress anymore,
Uh,
man.
you know
You're
what? I'm sorry, but I kind of feel that I always need to. But that's my cross to bear.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then, have you been to Flor de Yucatan Bakery?
Yes, I've been there. I have been there.
Okay,
Yes.
good,
Okay.
good, good,
Yeah.
good. All right, the one out of two. And so, Flor de Yucatan, old, it's traditional restaurant, Yucatan style, has been around forever.
Yeah.
And I feel this place is still really underrated. Like all these ridiculous influencers, they're out going to the same kinds of places, and they're skipping these classics. And as we heard today, Cole's French dip is going to close. So like
Oh,
this is a
yeah.
Mexican classic. We got to keep the Mexican classics too.
When you told me just like the impact about, on the service industry, not just street vendors, it's sad to hear another restaurant close in LA, you know?
Yeah, this is a really, I mean, it's pandemic, it's the writers and actor strike, it's the fires, it's now the ice raids. It's like Los Angeles has had 5 years of just ongoing chaos and attacks on our restaurant on the service industry.
In the news industry, there's these states and cities sometimes that end up just getting hammered
Yeah,
with national news. One year I remember, like in 2015, it was South Carolina. You had these like really crazy floods. You had the Dylan Roof shooting at Mother Emanuel. I mean, if you look at the pattern of like the news cycles, often there are these cities. Baton
right.
Rouge was one of them one year, I remember. And this, like last year,
It's been
it's been Los Angeles, man. I left the week before the fires. We were just hiking up in that area, and then it just got devastated over there in Palisades. The stuff with the raids, just the ongoing unhoused problem there. I mean, it's getting, yeah, it's been a really rough time for the city.
Yeah, so we were, so we were rallying this weekend. We went Saturday, and Flor de Yucatan. We it was funny because these were New York based writers that are now living out here. We have a lot of these New Yorkers living in LA now that are reporting here, and they had never been to this place, and they were blown away.
Go Dodgers.
Yeah, so we had another bean dish. We had the frijol con puerco, traditional Monday dish in the Yucatan, beans and pork with chile habanero and all the condiments. And then we also tried some tamales there. But my friends, you guys got to go to Florida de Yucatan. They're
Okay.
hurting. Their menu is just like Gishbak was empty. Florida de Yucatan has reduced their staff and their menu, and they're just like, dude, this is like it's worse than the pandemic. And then we went to Sinaloa Express for frijoles puercos, which is an upcharge. If you don't ask for the upcharge beans, man, you get the beans with the salt and the water that are just okay. So pay more for your beans.
Yeah, I don't care if it's extra, man. I don't
Right.
care if the guac is extra. Give me.
Give me the puercos. And amazing place. That all they had some people in, but they were pretty slow. And so again, we're just like ordering extra things. We ordered the beans with as sides to dishes.
Yeah.
Their barbacoas recommended. And then we went on to Los Alpes, which is a classic ice cream shop in Huntington Park,
Okay.
because we
Okay.
weren't that far away. And oh my God, that was like where it really hit us. The owner, I mean, she's known for her paletas, but for me, honestly, the handmade ice cream is great, and the raspados is what I want to have. People get, the people they get a little crazy on the paletas, like, and as Mexicans, we're like, they're just popsicles.
Oh man, the paletero was a rite of passage
Yeah,
though as a kid. I
yeah,
remember, growing up in Eagle Rock and you'd hear the paleta man, the ring, ring, ring. And like I married
yes,
a woman from here from Atlanta and we've been together since 2010. And I remember when she was first going back with me, she didn't believe me because we would, it was starting to get gentrified. The paleta man was slowly disappearing. Now the paleta man is gone, Bill. Like it's like non-existent. And even if there was a market for the paleta man still in Eagle Rock with the gentrification, I don't think in the climate right now you would see someone like that out there on the street. They kind of went away a long time ago, and now they're definitely gone in this climate right now.
I think what you mentioned about gentrified, yeah, a lot of hipster businesses are doing the paletas, and people love ours because we have all these wonderful flavors.
We have him here in Atlanta, the King of Pops. I don't.
Right,
It's
King of
not made its
Pops.
way out to LA, or maybe it has. But yeah, it's like these are paletas, man. You know, these are delicious, but they're
Right.
paletas. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we bought a bunch, but the woman said that she's down to working. The owner is working by herself. That's it. So she doesn't even have employees. She brought and one employee that day because we were coming, and Sarah from Kismet was going to buy a bunch of popsicles, and another woman that was with us, another writer, Hannah was going to buy a bunch of paletas. So she actually had some business that day, but she started crying, and she's never seen anything like this. And so we were happy to do it, but it just you feel like, oh my gosh, like there's so many restaurants now, everyone's in the same boat, and like how do we get people to come out and support?
Yeah.
Right now it's dangerous for undocumented people, it's dangerous for even Mexicans and other Latinos that are documented to go out. Man, if you're white, you're Asian, if you're safe, go to the Mexican neighborhoods right now. They kind of need the business. Huntington Park is where Los Alpes is, which is not too far from Sinaloa Express, which is in Southgate. But then now you saw what happened in the news today.
Mm. Yeah, I reported on it.
Karen Bass was in MacArthur Park because they had a tank,
Yeah,
well, not a tank, but like a military,
yeah,
right?
an MRAP. It was an MRAP. Yeah.
And all right, and they had, I mean, a full squadron out there, just ridiculous. And so that's where we were. On Saturday, we went to Sixth and Bonnie Bray, where all the Guatemalan street vendors, what I
Mhm.
call the Guatemalan night market, and they're there. They're there during the day, and there were vendors, not a lot of people, but again, we hit at least two stands. We bought a bunch of things, three stands actually, and bought a bunch of things, left tips, and just we're really thankful to everybody for being there, and I understand it's really hard right now because their customers are actually the jornaleros, which are the day laborers.
Mm.
But at the same time, just 2 days later, we see this thing happen. So I'm wondering now, gosh, are those vendors okay? Did any of them get taken? They've had to run once. There was some footage I saw on social media where their stands had been abandoned, and they might have run for it, or they might have been taken. And just like the daily pressure, is really intense. So, which brings me to the main topic here is this, I say the Mexican American dream, but really it's not just, LA is not just Mexican, it's Central American, it's South American, it's a lot of indigenous people. We have Afro Mexican, we have all these different Latino groups, right? That have come here to do jobs that, what we hear in the news all the time, the jobs that people aren't willing to do. But it really is more than that. It reminds me of what year that was when Marco Gutierrez, this Latinos for Trump guy, was on the news, and it was like a big gaffe. He said taco trucks on every corner
Yeah, it
to
was probably 2015, probably
right
2015, 2016. Yeah,
before
and it
Trump's
got
first
that
presidency.
that quote gets people attribute that. It gets misattributed to being from Trump, but it was actually who you said it was. It was a strategist, right? It was an operative. It wasn't Trump himself that said it. But
Right,
when that was said, Bill, I was like, are they talking about Eagle Rock and Helen Park? Because like, what's wrong with that? Like I had a
right.
taco truck on every corner. It was cool. We loved it.
We turned that one around. That was easy to, and
Right.
he got in trouble for that because it was like, dude, you just gave ammunition for the campaign. And so he was talking about the dominant culture, and the idea that he said Mexicans are a dominant culture, and if you don't, stop them, there's going to be a taco truck on every corner.
I don't know about that, man. I think Mexicans are a humble culture. It's written in our language, like how we say, excuse me,
Right,
mande, tell me, command me. Spaniards, Europeans say, dime,
right,
dime, like tell me. It's like built in our DNA, like I'm sure you heard this growing up in your household. You're a little bit older than me, but, kind of similar in background. And like, it's almost like we have to just be grateful to be there, right? While other people are looking for privileges and they're looking for ways to like stand out and get this special treatment. our community seems to just be so humble that we're just grateful
Yeah.
to be here or there or wherever our feet are planted. I'm painting this obviously with like sweeping generalizations and broad strokes, but I think stereotypically, Mexicans are very humble people.
Yeah. But I've been thinking a lot about what he said over recently
Sure.
because of what we've seen on the streets of Los Angeles, where this is the first time that they've made our street vendors disappear, literally by taking them, detaining them. Many of them might be bound for Florida, and some of them have been deported. I covered a story for Eater LA where we had a vendor that got taken in the morning from Moscow, and by the afternoon he was already in Tijuana and sending messages to people to look after his wife and his kid.
One of my friends just got picked up. He was taken into custody, someone that we used to do jobs on my mom's home in LA, and he got swept up in the Cypress Park Home Depot raid. And you talked about people doing things and working at places, doing things that they may not normally do or may be seen as illogical. Pedro went back after the raid happened. Like, why? It's like such a goofball thing to do. Like, why would you go back to where there was just a raid?
Right.
But when I talked to him the days before leading up to that, he was like, there's no jobs, man. Like, he had shown up working at my mom's house with his ex-wife and her new lover because he couldn't find a team to get together for these projects that he had, right?
That's the other thing that's happening all over the
Yeah.
place. Jobs. I mean, we people aren't don't have crews, and the day workers are disappearing from the Home Depot lots now. They've been taken, or they're just not
Without warrants, without questions. It's
without.
just these sort
Yes.
of sweeping operations that if you're in the line of sight of these suspected federal agents, you get caught up, which is why, Bill, I mean, this is not to be dramatic, but you just talked about it a little while ago. You're saying, people carrying documents. I have on me at all times now, this is a copy, I won't get too close, a copy of my birth certificate. My mom wants me to carry this on me
Yeah.
because it'll make her feel safer. Like, I'm a third generation Mexican American. I talk the way I talk, I'm like pocho Mexicano, man, but like
You
it
have a
does not
California
matter
you have a
because
California
I look like
accent.
this.
Right.
Yeah, man, but it doesn't matter. You think someone's going to stop to say, "Oh, hey, Mr., Mexican guy on the street, let me see those papers." And you speak English so good, like it's just not the climate that we're in right now, unfortunately, man. People need to understand that.
Right. And so I've been thinking about this, like, and the other stop I made this weekend, I left LA 4 a.m. to drive to Santa Maria just for breakfast to have barbacoa at Kenny's Cocina. Kenny is a Mixteca. She's Oaxacan, indigenous person from Oaxaca. And she'd been gone for over a year. And she just came back, and her daughters messaged me like about a month ago, say, "Hey, my mom's back if you want to come up sometime." So I came up. They have this incredible barbacoa tradition, one of my favorite styles, where they make this thing called masita,
Hmm.
which is like it's like a porridge, a spicy porridge that they put the barbacoa and the offal inside, and then you have that with tortillas. And in their language, they call it yiquin, and you can only find it in the Mixteca region of Oaxaca, and also in Santa Maria and Oxnard, because the people there are the pickers. They're strawberry pickers, grape pickers. The majority of pickers are indigenous, and a lot of them are Mixtecos. And so, like, I was thinking about this American dream thing, and like, why are people? They're saying that, oh, we have to stop the invasion, right? And that we have to stop these people from coming. Why do they want us not to come? Is it there's racism? We can acknowledge that Stephen Miller, the architect of Trump's immigration policy and the one who gave the marching orders on what we're seeing happen here in Los Angeles, has a background of racism.
Some people think he's a white nationalist. Yeah. Some people have accused him of being a white nationalist and at least being okay with trafficking in those views. I mean, we remember
Right.
his leaked emails. We remember, videos of him back at Santa Monica that were deemed as sort of satire, talking about him not wanting to pick up the trash, because there's people like that, that are paid to do that for him. Excuse me. This is an identity politics thing.
Right. So he's behind this. So okay, so we have racism. And then I was just doing some reading, and like there's this reporter, David Bryan Robertson. He wrote this article, and he said as the Tea Party flourished in 2010, he came to a meeting of a Republican club in the affluent western suburbs of St. Louis, and this is like Todd Aiken's core supporters. You remember Todd Aikens,
Sure, of course,
right?
of course.
And he said he'll never forget two things. One of them was what they said some racist things about Hurricane Katrina, but the thing that just blew him away was that immigration sparked the most intense visceral anger from a small number of very conservative and vocal participants at this Republican club meeting. And he thought, this is nuts, because at the time there weren't that many Latinos, Mexicans out in the St. Louis region, and had such a tiny Latino population. And so he mentions the book White Backlash. Are you familiar with this book?
Yeah, absolutely.
That it
It's
was, I think it was published in 2017, right?
yeah.
And so I really feel that if people in Missouri are worried, I think people are worried about us staying, because I don't think people care that we're taking farm labor jobs, and we're taking, we're processing chicken in the Foster Farms, the Tyson chicken plants. I don't think they care that we're building the buildings. I think they care that we are staying, which reminds me of what happened in the 1930s. The horde of invasion, the migrant invasion, were white people from Oklahoma that were called Okies, and they came out to California because the topsoil was blown off in the Midwest, and they came out and they were living as migrant workers, right? And they did that until World War II comes along, and they were able to get shipyard jobs because to help with the war effort, shipyard jobs, factory jobs, and there was no one now to pick the crops, so they brought in Mexicans, as you know,
And then who becomes the new boogeyman during that time as
the
well? The
braceros,
Japanese,
right?
right? Well, the Japanese, the braceros, the
Right,
internment camps, all that happened. It's what you're describing is fear, right? And the only thing that's greater than hope is fear. And the Republicans and the right has been very effective at convincing people in Missouri that the border is right next door, right? And it is almost though it's almost as though, Bill, it's the American dream for me, but not for thee.
right.
Like we can't have any more American dreams anymore. The dreaming is over. This place is full. And the messaging has been very effective by President Trump, his allies, his operatives, at trying to get people worried and scared that the other is coming for you. The boogeyman is coming for you. I was on a podcast recently, and I said then, and I really I'm affirmed by it now, that I feel like I can solve the immigration crisis in 90 seconds, but people don't really want to listen because there's too much money being made in this immigration industry. You have Core Civic that's making
And there's political careers being made.
entire political careers and presidential candidacies that are launched on the back of this very issue, right? This hot button issue. And you have to think and you scratch your head, and it's like, wasn't it Ronald Reagan that gave us amnesty to our community? Wasn't he
Yeah,
celebrated? You could almost play tapes of George H.W. Bush, supporting his community, behind his neighbors, and that it's like a liberal talking point now. For the left, it's like these ideas about immigration have only gotten more and more conservative, and it's all stoked by fear. It's the otherism.
right.
It's you taking back and giving that history lesson like, okay, the Okies were here and they were the bad guys until someone else became the bad guys. And right now, for whatever it is, whether it's the message from the president on down, in
Yeah.
this last decade, Bill, we have been the bad guys.
And the thing about the Okies, once they came out of the shipyards and they made some money and they made this transition, they blended in, right, with the other Americans in California, and they became Californians.
We can never walk into a room and be white.
We can't
you
we can't
know?
blend in. And the thing about, I think, where Mexicans now are following this American dream, and other Latinos, because they're not coming. People think they're coming here to take these low paying jobs. No, they are coming here. We are coming here to be entrepreneurs, and this is what the real problem is.
Wow.
So when people see, well, if I look at Los Angeles, the beautiful Mexican city, the second largest Mexican city, where it's got the best Mexican food. Shut up, Texas and New York. you know, that's going to be another show, and we're gonna do that at some point. But
You're gonna piss off all my fans in South Texas, Bill. Don't say that, man. The Rio Grande Valley, they really are.
yeah, they've got good Mexican food, but you know what I'm saying? It's like we've built this wonderful, as they have in Chicago and Texas and other parts of the U.S. But we built this incredible Mexican culture and Oaxacan culture and indigenous culture and Sinaloan and Jaliscan. You know, we have all these groups that have their communities here, and we have swap meets. We have our own supermarkets. We have Vallarta. We have Northgate Gonzales. We have the Mercadito.
There you go. I was gonna say Cali Mex.
Yes, we've made LA in our image, right? Our music, our food, even, come on, if you are a non Latino and you open a restaurant, what's the one item you're going to have on that breakfast brunch menu? You're going to have a breakfast burrito, you know? So
You're talking about the entrepreneurial spirit, which I think is in our very fabric and in our DNA.
it's, we're not coming here to pick tomatoes. We're coming here to pick tomatoes to save up and open a business.
Mm. I think about people like you and me, man. I mean, both of my grandfathers crossed here illegally, one from El Salvador, the other from Guatemala. There is no way that you can argue with me that I'm not, here we are, three generations later,
Yeah,
contributing to society. A 19-year career at the elite level of journalism before I left. And now I'm launching my own small business, and trying to give a voice. I think journalism at its best
right.
is an act of service. And to loop that back to our culture and community, I think there's really a lot of service in our blood and our DNA.
Yeah.
We love to add value to the stream of life. And I think that entrepreneurial spirit really scares a lot of people. The last thing I'll say is that,
This is
yeah,
this is it. This is the fear.
that's the
No, go
fear.
ahead.
It's people, in our community, we are ingrained in us to not sit around and sulk and feel sorry for yourself. Pour me, pour me, pour me another drink is what we say, in a group I'm a part of. Nobody is going to come and be your superhero. And I think it's ingrained in the DNA of a Mexican, of a Latino, of a Chicano, Mexican American, however you identify yourself, that you have that. I'm going to get up and I'm not going to feel sorry for myself because nobody cares. And I'm going to go work for every dollar that I have, every penny that's in my pocket,
Yeah.
because that's what my parents did. That's what their parents did. That's what, it's in our fabric and our DNA. And what's happening right now and what you cover in the food industry, the tangent of immigration, it is destroying the very fabric of our city.
It is.
These tamaleros, these taqueros, these taco trucks, these people that are bringing culture and community and are just adding to our city's livelihood and fabric and culture. They're not the bad hombres. They're not the criminals. They're not, their only crime is that they didn't do it the right way. But you know how hard that is. And the only thing also is I really have difficulty subscribing to that man-made construct because 100 years ago, that man-made construct of laws told me it was okay to own people. It's rather to subscribe to the spiritual construct, to a higher power, and say, what is happening is wrong. This is morally wrong. Coming in and raiding people without warrants, without documentations, without announcing who you are, wearing masks, no due process. This is not okay. Not just as a journalist, but as an American citizen. And you're seeing it, Bill, firsthand in the industry that you have spent your life covering.
Yeah. I mean, we are seeing an un-American government that's violating constitutional rights, that's using racism, fear. And, of all these years of talking about the trouble with Mexicans and taco trucks and this whole stupid Latinos for Trump bullshit, it took a military force to finally do that, to actually to limit. Now, it's still not stopping us. Vendors are still going out and selling.
Yeah.
And the truth, what people don't understand, a lot of these vendors have had to fear law enforcement for years. Before, it wasn't so much ICE; it was police trying to, and the health department trying to confiscate their gear, and they would come by with trash compactors and throw their rigs inside the trash
I mean,
compactor.
the scars of everyday residents tipping over these carts are still very
There's
visible in a
that.
lot of these street
Well,
vendors. Do
that's
you remember that? You remember that. Yeah.
yeah, that's a result of all this rhetoric. And I think, again, just like when I was at Candy's Cocina, and like I think about that family and how they're such a nice family. Like they're very religious. I don't know if you've talked or read much about the binational nature of the Oaxacan communities here.
Not really. No.
So there's this one town where Candy is from, and it's called Santa Cruz Mixtepec, and there's only 1,000 people in that town, and they're all like they're all connected, right? But 800 of them are here. So the town delegation is actually here, and then the 200 people that are still there, there's not enough of them to take care of things like the church and the different festivities that go on every year. So every year, a different family has to volunteer to go back and spend a year taking care of the church, putting on these festivals, these religious holidays and events. And so Candy was gone with her husband for a year. They did not sell food. The kids are run. They have a landscaping business. Again, this is what the big fear out there is that, oh, they're going to leave the fields because, well, gosh, they left the fields because their backs gave out. And then they started a landscaping business and they started selling barbacoa. And they have a nice house. Their kids are going to school and doing different occupations, not farm labor.
Mm. See,
And then they went back for a year to volunteer to do all these things for the church and their community, along with other people, of course. And they said they have to do it every 12 years. So when I think about like when people say, well, Americans should be doing these jobs, well, you know what? If you don't have this kind of devotion to the dream, this Mexican American dream,
yeah.
that you're gonna make a business and you're gonna sell food, and then you're running back to go take care of your own people, like the disconnect with the people that are out there demonizing and using demagoguery to convince people that all these people are criminals and we're criminals, that we're supporting criminals. These are family people dedicated to their town, their people, their culture, their religion, and to their children.
Yeah.
And they're creating this economy. This economy is those people. LA's street food scene contributes to so much. The money that's made is all spent in the restaurants. Like the people that make tacos, they go to these other markets, they go to other vendors, they go to each other's businesses because on Sunday somebody does the birria from their town that they want, or somebody does carnitas that they love, and they're going to go support that vendor. So there's this whole economy that makes LA really run. It makes LA what it is. It makes it delicious. And
Yeah.
but like what Candy represents is kind of what goes back. I mean, when I look at what Stephen Miller, Tom Homan, what Donald Trump is doing, is kind of an amalgam of Pete Wilson and some other things that happened in between. Pete Wilson basically tried to scare us in 1994 that this reality of me going to Candy's Cocina or doing a bean crawl in different neighborhoods of Los Angeles, that we were going to become Mexican. And do you remember that? Prop 187?
Yeah, it was trying to limit undocumented immigrants from having access to public services. It would have given teachers the ability to out their student status based
Right.
on their paperwork. I mean, it was
Which is
voted
horrible.
on and passed. It took the feds to come in to overturn it. What you're talking about, Bill, is this rising and this sort of crescendo of a panic population.
Yeah.
The panic population has grown so much over the course of the last 20 years, and people like Stephen Miller have been very cunning and effective at pushing on that nerve of the fear of the people that think the Gandhis of the world are going to come and take their jobs, or they're here to do bad.
Right.
And so you mentioned a little while ago the Latinos for Trump people. I know Latinos for Trump. I know people. I've done stories on them. I went down to the Rio Grande Valley.
Right.
I have friends that are Latinos who voted for Trump. And what I found from them is that they have been told somewhere along the road by somebody in their life that proximity to whiteness is going to save them, and it's going to reshape and help them assimilate into this white supremacy country that we have, that was founded on. So if you're closer to, and I'm one of the examples of it. I mean, I lean more liberal, of course, right? You probably can decipher that, but I'm fair, and I feel like I have people that watch me that are that don't watch the news, that are Trump supporters, that are full blown MAGA supporters, make America healthy again.
Right.
And I feel like it's my obligation as a journalist to meet them where they are
Right.
because they're not going away. And the conversations that I'm willing to have, because I accept them for who they are, right? I'm not trying to change them. I hope maybe they can learn something from my journalism. But the conversations I have with those that support what's happening right now is they feel as though that they're being given a bad name by the other, by the migrant, by the Gandhis, or by whoever the Pedros of the world who are coming here and making a bad name for the rest of the Latinos in this community, right? And so if they align themselves with this really draconian, more right, more conservative, more nationalism, then they will be safe.
Which is what Venezuelans voted for, right? They voted for to kick us, our friends out, the people that from our community, and they thought, oh, but Trump likes us, and the Cubans thought that, the Nicaraguenses thought that, and now you see these. I mean, there's been these videos where, and you can just see all the Mexicans in the comments going like, okay, this is what you voted for, right?
And though, let's lead with love and tolerance is what I'm trying to do in good
Yeah,
faith. And how hard is it for somebody to admit that they're wrong? How hard is it? I know it's fucking
it's
hard for me to
it's hard
admit
for
that
these
when I'm
people.
wrong. Okay? I know how difficult and how stubborn I can be when I'm wrong. Now you magnify that on a national stage with something that is impacting now not just your neighbors, but your
Yeah,
family members, your friends, your loved ones, your significant others, and all of a sudden it impacts you. It takes things like this, the personal impact for the individual to understand, to learn, to be deprogrammed and reprogrammed. And I really feel, from my perspective, I never claimed to be objective, man. That's the great illusion of journalism, is that we're some sort of robot objective. I do not subscribe to that, man. I subscribe to my metric of success as a journalist as if whether or not I'm fair to the subject. I can have a conversation with anyone and I want to get at the prevailing wisdom. And what I don't understand is my deep curiosity of what's happening right now. I talked to a Trump voter earlier today, a guy in the Midwest, a guy who reads every single word that I write in every broadcast. He'll watch this. And he was telling me, I don't understand, Nick. The president is up there saying we're going after the criminals.
right,
And then I read your reporting and I see that they're going after the cooks.
right,
And you know what he's doing now? He's calling his representatives. This is an 81-year-old man who's willing to be open, has the willingness to say, hey, maybe what I was told by President Trump isn't what's really happening. And now I have people in my orbit that are beginning to question that. And that to me is a victory, not just as a journalist, but as a citizen of this country. Because
yeah.
this is in turmoil, man. This is hard. Today it's me, tomorrow it's you, right? That's the stage we're in.
And what you're talking about the idea of that, I don't know how it's left to not say that they're taking the cooks. Like, that's very objective. I can see there's cooks. I can see taco trucks. I can see the frutero on the street being taken. You showed this taquero being handcuffed for making tacos, and so this is not left to say this is what I see, and there is a big problem with how do we continue to every day when the president, Kristi Noem, Homan, and of course Stephen Miller, who's just the most fervent,
Yeah.
about we arrested rapists today and murderers, and somebody with a, they'll say a drug dealer from, a guy who had a minor conviction 20 years ago and is now a family man and doing all these things. They're just saying this, constantly lying.
And they're constantly moving the goalposts, right? We're running a race
Yes,
with a goalpost that's constantly moving. And if we subscribe
right,
to this conservative logic that just one is too many, they talk about these undocumented invaders coming in and being rapers and killers. The Laken Riley Act, that Georgia student that was raped by an undocumented immigrant.
right,
If we take this logic that one is too many, one incident is too many, then we must subscribe to this logic that one American citizen being caught in these raids is too many. And we have more than one example of an American citizen being caught, not only caught in this, what's happening right now on the streets of LA, but they are being detained and taken into custody.
right,
What we are seeing right now on the streets of LA is a detained first, ask questions later, gloves off, no strings attached type policy approach. That's what's happening, and that's scary.
yeah.
That should scare all of us as American citizens.
It's it's mind blowing that everybody isn't against this. That we can't. Well, it's mind blowing that the Republican Party is falling in line with
It's
it.
people that are common sense law, and they see this black and white, Bill.
Right. And so you have this one group of people that, again, they continue, you can see them in the comments. They say, well, if they just do it, they're still saying if they do it the right way and these things. And then we've even convinced, or they've even convinced Latinos, these Latinos for Trump. Now, I don't know if you know about this guy. So I have a guy I wrote about many years ago, and he's in a little heat right now. Gabriel from Mr. Tacos Way. And to me, he's like one of the
Tacos way.
Mr. Tacos Way. And oh my gosh, this guy. So I saw what he was doing in 2015. I thought it was kind of cool that he was branding himself as sort of like the mascot for his company. Mr. Tempo does that. And Mr. Tempo did actually come out and say something against this. And then he was waving a Mexican flag, and then he had to take that back and explain why, people were like, well, other Latinos were saying this, like, well, if you're American, it's like, oh my God, you guys, this is not the problem. The problem is people are being kidnapped on the streets. Okay. This is not the
Punto.
problem of flag.
Punto. That's
And
it. End sentence. That's it.
that's it. That's the only thing to talk about. And so Mr. Tacos Way was caught on, I think, a TikTok video wearing a MAGA hat and a Don't Tread on Me t-shirt. And so I think he got caught,
Yeah.
and I think he put a little apology post that no one really liked, and they just were dragging him. So I mentioned him in my stories. And like I said, I liked the guy. I had only positive experiences with him, but I haven't, talked to him in a long time. And I just said, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, how did this happen? Like,
What do you say?
well, and my point with him was like, my dad's generation, they actually fought for civil rights. I grew up with Chicano community organizers and listening to Raza Radio, and like, so, and Pete Wilson triggered something that wasn't expected, is Latino political power. And also Joe Arpio with SB 1070,
Sure.
that the Show Me Your Papers law that was passed in 2010. And that also brought many Latinos into politics. People are like, I'm going to run for office.
Yeah.
And so we have all this Latino political power too that's grown with all of this, right? And I'm thinking, okay, so we did that, and we went through all these things. We went through a lot of racism. My dad's generation went through tremendous racism. And we did that so some fucking guy who has restaurants that are just okay, okay Mexican food, nachos and shit, and okay tacos, so that he can wear a fucking MAGA hat. It's like, I don't know what happened for this to happen.
You know what it is, though. You do know what it is, because when people go through adversity, there's two types of people that come out of that. They either want others to suffer
Right.
just as they did because they got out of it, and they think others should get out of it too. This sort of like masculine, man up, man, stop being a punk, right? And there are others that go through that adversity, and they desperately, desperately do everything they can to make sure that no one ever has to go through that again. And I was, much like you,
Right.
taught under that Chicano Latinidad philosophy. My dad grew up in South Central on 51st and Western. He used to say that all the time when we were kids. I had no idea what that meant, but that was like a virtue signal to the homies being like, I grew up in the hood, right? So, like, my dad grew up in that. He was such a good example of reaching your hand out and reaching your hand back once you climb the ladder, right? That it's our duty and obligation as people. That's our easy burden to carry, to help someone else and to help them avoid the same pitfalls that we went through. It's a household thing, man. I like feel emotional about it. I don't have my dad anymore at 17, but like, in my work, it's an act of service for him. I want to make sure that I can amplify and
Yeah.
megafy, be not a brain dead megaphone, and amplify these voices to make sure that things like this don't happen again. History repeats itself. Nothing new that we cover is under the sun. There's a lot of the images right now that people are posting online that have parallels and tangents to the past, man.
Right.
And it hurts to see, which is why what we are doing right now, the accountability journalism, I mean, you're a journalist, man. What you write about, the happenings in LA, the food scene, that all is the folks' history and a documentation for the next generation that comes. What I'm doing with my platform, that's accountability journalism, because in the short term, it may not matter, right? It may not. but we're playing the long game here,
No, we
bro.
are.
And history will see this and will reflect it accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would say that, when I first started blogging, which was end of 2007, there weren't Latino writers covering Mexican food, Central American food, and so it was mostly white writers, right?
You made your own lane, bro.
Right. And so when I look today, I mean, part of one of the reasons why, one of the main reasons that we talk about all these Oaxacan restaurants and all these great taco spots and traditional, pupusa spots, is that you have people like myself. And again, that's that progress, right? And we fought to be here. It's LA Taco, a whole team
Yeah.
of Latino journalists, Latinas as well, and then you have other local publications. There's so many. LAist has Latino food writers
Right, right.
all around town. You're seeing that are covering the food from their own perspective and doing a better job. You know, we can say that there were some great critics that came before. Jonathan Gold was an incredible writer.
Yeah.
There were Ruth. We had Ruth Reichel here. We had all kinds of writers, but they did not cover the food like we do, and they're not in the neighborhoods and not from those communities. And so again, this is all this progress that was really upended by this proximity to whiteness, Latinos for Trump, people believing this narrative of Stephen Miller's is not his. It came from Pete Wilson. It came from Joe Arpaio. It came from Trump. It came from all the people in that orbit that over the decades. It came from the guys in St. Louis afraid of having, some kind of mercadito next to them that might have really nice food and fun people that are just like them. They're family people.
That's such an important point that you made, that through line through all those, different parts of the last 20, 30 years, because like what we're seeing now, it's like same game is just sort of caught on camera, right? Like I remember being
Yeah.
in elementary school watching the walkouts at Prop 187, the kids marching out, vote no 187, and then, thinking that, oh, okay, they're gonna do something about this. This young impressionable mind watching television, look at all those people out there, only for it to then pass, right? And like I didn't understand that. Like, oh my God, there must be even more people that are voting
Right.
on the other side. That's crazy to me because that seems like a lot of people. And then you look at the blueprint and it's so familiar, Bill. It's like Stephen Miller, those were those foundational, fundamental years where he felt you're seeing this sort of English as a first language, official language in America proposed more. There's
Right.
panic population. Stephen Miller, effectively trying to, wipe out this population that is only trying to contribute. Why? If we got to call balls and strikes, and that's what it seems like for a lot of the people that I talked to in those streets in downtown LA in the days after those raids started, for them, it feels like a purge.
Yeah.
And for some of the people that I talked to, they were only out there because they themselves got radicalized first
Yeah.
in 1994 under Prop 187,
Yeah. And
you
this,
know?
right. And what's weird, because I've been talking, people sometimes can only see what's happening in front of them, right? And this whole idea of America as a nation of immigrants, I was actually talking to somebody about this, and like, okay, today Mexicans, Central Americans, indigenous people are coming they're being actually called. They're not coming because they want to come. They're being asked to come. The strawberry farm owners in Oxnard are saying we need these people,
Yeah,
and they're asking someone to go get on the phone and get these people here. And the the processing plants are asking, the restaurants, people are forging papers to do it,
sure.
and they're getting documents. Speaking of MacArthur Park, that historically has always been a place where we can come up with
That's where you
some
put the C up for the
from
driver's license,
from
man,
documents
right?
documents,
Yeah.
and so, but it's because why? The restaurant needs that, the farm needs that, all along the chain of the production of food for the grocery stores, the drivers, the people that are shipping this stuff, you know, all these people need these documents and they're finding them so they can work. But the employers are asking them. And these people are becoming part of those families, and these people are coming out and they are opening businesses. But we're not the first, and we won't be the last. It was the Irish, it was Italians, it was the Okies coming to California. This has always been a thing where there's a group of people that have this American dream, and that they're hungry. They're going to do any job. They're going to do a job that they can do, not because they want to pick strawberries or pick lettuce or, debone chicken. They don't want to do that, but they know that's a means to an end. And that's what happened in the 1930s with white people from Oklahoma. That's what happened with the Irish leaving, running from the potato famine. Um, it was Italians leaving. British came over here. The original colonies had Brits that were coming because they were poor back home. They couldn't advance. They weren't from a family that had wealth, so they came over to America for opportunities where they could make a business. So this has really always been this idea. Immigrants come here, and immigrants do make America. America is not a white country or a Christian country or a country of immigrants. It's a country that the image of the country and what makes it run, what makes it this number one economy, what made it envied up until now around the world is the people that come here from all kinds of places with ideas and passion and drive and hunger. Not just hunger to feed themselves, but hunger to do something more with their lives, to make a business. And you can't do that in a lot of places. But it's the people that actually, the immigrants that came, that have made those opportunities for other immigrants.
And I'm so grateful to be here, man. I mean, I hit my knees every day, and I am grateful, and I thank God for another day just to be alive. And part of that is having
Right,
the luck of the draw that I was born here, because 100 something years ago the border crossed and the Trinidad Hidalgo and my grandmothers lived in the Southwest, and here I am, right?
right.
And here we are talking, and it's not ever lost on me when I'm spending time down on the border, because I've lived down on the border. I've covered it for 2 decades.
Yeah,
That in another life, those people that are crossing could be very well me, or my grandfather. And that for me is always something that I try to see where others are right. I try to lead with love and tolerance, like I was saying. And for me, the answer and the remedy to what's happening here is so simple. It's a human one, but for whatever reason, and we know the reasons. We've listed out some of them. This fear has been,
yeah,
this nerve of fear has really been pushed on and put pressure on by people in the Trump administration, by the president himself, because he sees it as very, very effective. What we saw happen today in MacArthur Park, it was a raid fit for reality TV. It was a massive operation,
yeah.
90 National Guard troops, countless federal agents with Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol, HSI. And who did they get? There was no reports of anyone detained. There was
Right,
images there where agents had cameras, like really nice cameras recording. Karen
right,
Bass comes
right,
in the
right.
middle of it. The mayor makes a phone call this raid off. It all looked like this pageantry, and it's like I'm looking at
It,
this unfold from my house in Atlanta, watching on live, and I'm like, there's the Fox News correspondent right next to those federal agents who are telling everyone else in the media to get back, you're too close, but here they are. And I wonder what his report is going to say on Fox News compared to everyone else's. Um,
right.
it's so important that we have these perspectives. We're talking about independent journalism. I didn't expect to launch an independent journalism career. I, had this career within the margins, right? And a very long career, a very healthy one. I was exposed to a lot of the world and I had a lot of opportunities. And this next chapter of my life began. And I couldn't very well look back and see what was happening and not try to contribute or add value, because this goes back to that sort of household, how you were raised, what you want to do with your life and the value you want to bring in. For me, I don't want other people to suffer the same shit that my parents went through
No,
or the same stuff that I went through. I have these half Chicano, half Georgia Peach kids who are going to have this great, beautiful life, but sooner or later, someone's going to call them a wetback and a beaner, and they're going to have to reconcile that with themselves.
right.
And I hopefully will be able to be positioned to be able to talk to them about why hurt people hurt people. And we see a lot of hurt people right now hurting other people that don't deserve to be treated like this.
And for the first time, some of those people are seeing the consequences of that just callous disregard for the people that come after you. And I think the message
It
that,
really makes me so upset, Bill, and I know it makes you so upset
yeah,
because you've spent so much time with this community. Like I brought up names of people that I know that have been taken and they're gone, right? We don't know
oh,
where they are right now. And like Candy may not be there. We talk about these taco vendors. I've had two of my taco guys detained, and it's not like, I invited them over for Christmas or we were homies, we're talking on the phone, but they're part of like the village around us. You know what I'm saying? They're
yeah,
part of the very essence of like what our lives are, and they're gone now. And
right.
that's not okay with me,
They
man.
they re- they really. I mean, it was just it was a kind of carelessness that's causing it's going to cause people to die, and it's causing death. And so, I think what I keep hearing, and from our conversation, this idea that you and I contribute, but really, and that we're grateful, but and there are people that are looking at me, and out there that and looking at you right now, they're going to see this and say, well, why aren't you guys grateful to be here? I'm like, you know who I'm grateful to? I am grateful to my father and my grandparents. They came for opportunities. My dad was one. So my dad was born in Aguascalientes. My dad was undocumented
Wow.
because in the 50s, people didn't really, my grandfather was born in Modesto, but he was all, listen to me, Modesto. And he, but he grew up in Aguascalientes, in between Modesto and Aguascalientes, and he never had a citizenship. He had a green card, and he told the border patrol when my dad was one that he was American citizen, so my dad was an American citizen. So they just like, okay, whatever, because back then it wasn't a big deal. And so my dad got a social security number. He had a driver's license. He never traveled, so he never had a passport, but he worked. And so my grandparents actually were the ones that were more successful, and they gave me the opportunity. They worked to give me opportunities, right? But we are not just contributing, we are what makes America. What Candice Cocina is, you know she makes amazing food that really serves her community of Santa Cruz Mixtepec. But her business and what she does, is she should not be grateful to America, because America is made by the very people that are the entrepreneurs.
Wow.
You know, it's not this idea of we should just shut up and be grateful and and move on with our day. It's like, no, everything that is great about America is something we fought for, which is also now we're having to fight for our fourth, fifth, 14th Amendment rights, due process. We're having to fight for that again, which is something we were given from the beginning, right? Is the government of the United States giving us that right now? No, we have to fight for it. We have to go to court to get what's basically in the Constitution, what's written in the Constitution. So all the civil rights, the civil rights that the Chicanos, my dad's generation, fought for, were things that we earned, and we earned it for everybody. You know, black Americans that fought for civil rights fought for the civil rights of everyone. So when we do something, when we contribute, we're contributing to something that was created by us.
There is a lot of fear right now about where this can go. I know I have a lot of friends that are future tripping about just how far the federal government can go, but I do see a lot of hope, man. I do. And I'm the type of person that, look, I'm in the news. I see bad things all the time. People used to call me the bad day guy, right? And I've taken a lot of opportunity lately to just sort of look down and see where my feet are and look around me and realize that at the very least, even if there's pockets of things burning, figuratively, that the world around me is still thriving, that I'm thriving, that I'm raising these small kids, 6 and 4, Ellis and
Yeah,
Ricky, to contribute to society, to be good people, to lead with love and tolerance. And I think that that's where the change is. That's where the hope is. And I get to see that because I'm a father, right? And I know there's a lot of people that don't get to see that, and they're not exposed to belly laughs every day and a child's
Right.
laughter, which is like the most pure thing ever. That's what I lean
Right.
into in this time because it's really scary. And I can understand why people are afraid. There's people that are not. We talked about Huntington Park. I walked that block on Flower Street where they used explosives device to get into that home. And when myself and my cameraman showed up, there was people literally peeking out of the blinds.
Yeah.
There was helicopters constantly, that hum of helicopters constantly overhead. People are terrified, and it's this whole city retreating. And that is, I'm sure you see it, also because it's the vendors that are retreating, it's the restaurant workers that are retreating.
Yeah.
It's our Latino community, our brothers and sisters, our primos and primas. They're retreating into the shadows because they're too scared to go out.
Yeah, it's
And that's a
diabolical
lot.
that the focus has been so much on ambulant street vendors,
Yeah.
because that's what we're seeing.
But the chaos is the point, right? We know this. The feds, Obama was called the deporter in chief, and he deported more people without the chaos. It almost seems like the chaos is the point.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've called him that, but Obama also was dealing with that Congress and could not get an immigration bill
And he
passed.
did DACA and he did Dreamers and they counted numbers differently. I hear all
John
that. I
Boehner,
guess,
John Boehner didn't even take it up,
yeah.
like so.
I hear that. I hear that. Something that's unfair criticism, but he did. It's not like the
No, no,
deportation stopped under
it
Obama.
was a
Yeah,
lot of sending people back, and it was
yeah,
also, what Donald Trump doesn't seem to understand, or he understands, he's just not going to do it. He doesn't believe in any of it. Is that Obama did enforce the law, and a lot of these bills or a lot of congressional acts have been about enforcement, about building walls, drones, more patrols, more border patrol, more ICE. So it's a lot of enforcement, and unfortunately, all that buildup is now being unleashed, and and
yeah.
and we're seeing it here, and it's very politically driven to specifically Los Angeles, while leaving Texas is getting, you know, flood relief, from this disaster that's a whole other issue of the weather service being gutted
Yeah.
prior to this, and they're getting help, but really, I mean, the people that are here running around chasing our taco vendors, they should be over there in Texas, helping out.
Isn't it curious? I think it's really curious, and I plan to do this story next week. I'm on my way to the Central Valley. I think it's really curious that farms, he's President Trump has been open or signaled that he's open to, you know, different ideas on immigration, right?
Yeah,
And yet he started raiding the farms the very next day or 2 days later in
right.
Oxnard. But the farms in the Central Valley that are surrounded by Trump supporters and
Yep.
undocumented labor are being untouched. My brother-in-law, I talked to this, with him about this, and he says, you really want to solve the immigration problem, make it a crime to hire an undocumented immigrant. Just flat out make it a felony. There's so many people that are circumventing that process though with falsifying paperwork. I was on scene in Mississippi for the largest ICE raid, a single ICE raid in U.S. history. More than 680 migrants were detained and taken into custody. I think over 300 were eventually deported. And do you think those poultry plants were they the next day were they being taken out and paraded? The
No.
CEOs in front of, and frog marched. No, it like took over a year before anything happened.
Right.
Like the attorney, the prosecuting attorney there in that district of Mississippi, I think it's like the Western District of Mississippi, he would never return my calls. It took like 18 months for any prosecution to land on these owners, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's all of this like illusion of law and order. And yet the conservatives are taking advantage of these very same loopholes. And then you're speaking out of this side of the mouth that these people should follow the law and they should do it the right way. While meanwhile, the people that you support and vote for are employing undocumented labor because it helps their bottom line.
Yeah.
Because we're a capitalist country and we care about money because that equals power. It is this cycle, and it's so deeply saddening and frustrating, which is why I try to take the approach of educating, which is why probably I'm a journalist, man, because I really want to help people learn and sort of deprogram from this programming that they're getting from social media or unverified sources or some parent that told them that somebody's coming to take your job, and all of a sudden you feel this. We are all bias. We are all shaped by our personal life experiences, and my personal life experience has taught me not to fear the other, but to embrace them and learn from them.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's me as a deeply curious person, and that's sort of fundamentally who I am. I understand that others are not like that though, and it takes so many to make the world go round, right?
Yeah, I mean this is going to be a process. It's also new, the social media, the way news has been is and ideas pass through social media over the past decade. So we are having to. I'm having to spend a lot of time, more than I want to, trying to talk to people and give them the facts about what's going on, and even just sending people videos. I've had friends that I found out that either didn't vote,
That's it.
and Gabriel, the Mr. Tacos way, dude, you got some. You have to make amends here.
Yeah.
For these people owe us. They need to go and they need to talk to their stupid ass friends, and they need to put some money out there and understand what they've done. And
Anyone that comes in good faith to make an amends, man, like for me, I've been taught that you show an openness and a willingness. I think, if we're talking about hope and fear, though, let's say someone like
yeah,
Mr. Tacos Way, comes and says, "Hey, I'm sorry," and he's met with those. Well, I fucking told you. You should have fucking listened, pendejo, fucking tonto. Why? Like, I think that's where, for me, I want to, give them a soft landing rather than beat them up for their stupidity or alleged stupidity or whatever. And that's just the take that that's the take that I have as a journalist, man, is I feel like it's really important to be fair. It's up to other people, commentators, talking heads, let them beat up guys like Tacos Way. I'll give him a platform and I won't hear his side of the story, you know?
yeah.
But I hear you. I think what
I,
you're saying has merit, man. I understand exactly where you're coming from, Bill.
yeah, I mean, he did. I won't say exactly what he messaged, but he does seem to like tell me what to do. He's like, what do I do? I do think he only really cares that it's affecting his business.
I was just
So,
about to say he probably cares because it's affecting his
and
pocketbook.
that's what his followers are
Hey,
saying.
if that's what brings him to the table, okay,
I'm okay with it. I'm okay. I'm okay if the pressure happens and it causes these people. There was a torta spot, I think in Texas, that got in big trouble because the daughter of the business put on this MAGA hat and she's like, just trust the process, everything's going to be okay. And now they're in big trouble. And the dad put in an apology video and didn't even mention his daughter. So here's the thing: is I think I want to end on this note is that the Mexican American dream, the Central American dream, the indigenous dream of what we're going to do in America is entrepreneurship. It is building this community. It is building the community we want in our own image. If we want to have a damn Mexican supermarket, if I live in Hollywood, you know why I live in Hollywood, Nick? I love that I have Oaxacan convenience stores. I go there all the time. I go to an Argentine market, Catalina's Market. They're not a sponsor, but a plug here for
Not yet.
Catalina's Market, right? And I love that. I want that. I don't want anything. I don't want that to go away. I like that I can get the best papayas and avocados on the street, Santa Monica and Western, baby, right there. Better than the supermarket. The best papaya I can find, right? My raspados guy is out there. My elotes guy drives around on a golf cart all over my neighborhood.
I
I
love
don't
it. I
want that.
love it.
That's why I love living here. And we are, I think Hollywood's like 30% Latino, East Hollywood's 50%. And so between all that we have Leo's Tacos is really close to me. Tacos Leo's. I want that. And those are businesses. What a badass idea to buy a bunch of cool golf carts and drive around and sell elotes. Like,
I was gonna say I love the imagery, bro. I love
right. Oh man,
that.
on Mother's Day this last year, they came out like in a stream of like six of them. They came out and they were giving out elotes to the mamas. And this is the American dream for someone like Candy. She's taking care of it. Her family's taking care of it. They're taking care of their damn hometown.
Yeah.
You know, and taking care of their family here in California. But to the people like Gabriel, is that you have to understand the Mexican American dream isn't just money. It isn't just consumerism. We have to protect it. And The government's not going to protect it. Obviously, they're trying to destroy it right now. And so we have to fight for that. And we need everybody. We need even Latinos for Trump. They gotta go out there and do something about this as well. But this is not something that's just going to continue. This idea, the American dream isn't given to us. It's not because of the founding fathers. We have to protect it.
Absolutely. Bill, I'm so grateful you had me on, man. I learned so much whenever I talk to you just about like the scene, the culture, different restaurants. I really am a big fan of yours, man. So I knew about you before we were friends. And so now it's
Yeah.
cool that we're homies and that we're doing this stuff, man. Sincerely, thank you so much. And to your producer, Luca.
And now we're going to be substacking. We're doing
We're
it.
doing it, baby. And let me get a quick plug. If you guys like what you heard, anything, you want to follow more, support, subscribe, like, I'm Nick Valencia News on Substack and Instagram across social media. And I'm just getting going, just getting warmed up.
Yes. Follow Nick Valencia. He's doing stuff that he could not do on CNN and doing it better, right? This is the new frontier. So, no, man, a
Yes.
pleasure to have you on, to have a great friend and also a fellow journalist, a fellow Chicano,
Right.
you know? And so, man,
Si se puede, man. I learned from the best. Sal Castro, Chicano Youth Leadership Conference, back when I was a sophomore at Eagle Rock Junior Senior High School, man. I remember going up on the stage and saying, I came here a whitewashed pocho from Northeast LA. I'm leaving a Chicano. That is what lit the flame, and the spark has taken off in 2025, man. I'm so happy. I'm so, so happy, bro.
okay, man, you are the Mexican American dream.
Love you, bro.
Love you too. And that's it for today, folks. If you like what you're hearing, please leave us a comment and a rating wherever you listen to your podcasts. Stay tuned for next week, and we'll be back with more.